everyone. Welcome back to A Second Chance. My name is Philip Jones.
And I'm Tafaro Cook, two-time kidney transplant recipient and founder of Kidney Care Coaches.
Hi, I'm Regina.
Today we have and then we have Regina, who I was going to get to, but it's all good. She did it herself. That means less time to be taken up. So Regina, you already started. Go ahead and take the floor. It's all yours.
All right. So first of all, I'd just like to say thank you so much for having me on the show. I am really excited, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here for you guys. I am a heart transplant recipient and a kidney transplant recipient. At the young age of 12 years old in 1987, I had a virus, and it caused cardiomyopathy to my heart. This was something that was just very fast and very new that happened in our lifestyle at home, and so we had no clues what was going on. It did take about 3 hospitals to find out what was going on with my heart, to know that it was enlarged the size of a small watermelon. So it had taken over my lungs, my breathing, and body functions in general. UCLA was thankfully the place that was able to figure out what was going on with me, and they were able to find out that it was cardiomyopathy. They were able to get my heart down to regular size. However, due to the stress and everything that was going on with the virus, I ended up having a heart attack, and at that point, they explained to my parents it was time for a heart transplant for me. Everything was going very, very fast, very scared. It was a moment in my life that I just did not understand. Funny thing was is that I didn't care about any of it, but going to 6th grade camp, go figure. It was a whirlpool of emotions for my family and for me. I did not know a lot of things that were going on in my life at that time because I was so sick that I just didn't understand. I was fortunate to find a transplant for myself, a heart, within a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, my donor was a 60-year-old who died in a car accident. I was not been able to meet my donor family. Unfortunately, that was not something in the plan with them in their life. I think it was just a little too emotionally hard for them to want to meet me and things like that. I am the 43rd transplanted patient at UCLA. Back then, we did not have a lot of pediatrics patients, so I was considered almost one of the first. I did pretty well. However, because of the virus, they were giving me gentamicin medicine to help that virus before my transplant. Well, during that time, I received my transplant, and within, I think it was 24 hours, the last words I heard my mom say is, "Isn't it beautiful?" She had taken me outside to the window, and I had seen all of UCLA's work. I can't think, sorry. Basically the whole outside. It was just really gorgeous campus. And I that night had a couple of complications, and I ended up going back into surgery again. And it was for a blood clot that was by my lung and my heart. When I awoke, I could not hear. I was completely deaf. My world was turned upside down at that point. I think I was more upset about that than having a heart transplant at that time. I fully believe, I'm a full believer actually, of a higher good, and that's God. And I fully believe He has been with me. He has opened up so many things for me, and He prepared me in a lot of ways that I did not know I was going to be prepared for. My mom noticed I couldn't hear, and she walked to the door at the my room, pulled her mask down, and said, "Can you hear me?" And I read her lips instantly. Reading lips is not a very easy thing. However, I believe God prepared me that moment, and I started reading lips. Of course, I had more doctors on top of me finding out what was going on with my hearing. Unfortunately, it never got better. I do have a cochlear implant. It has helped me tremendously understand and hear people a lot better. During that time in the hospital, I was there for 3 months, where normally people get a transplant and you're gone in a week or two. I had dialysis in the hospital. My kidneys did shut down. So therefore, I had dialysis up to 6 months after I got home. Luckily, by the grace of God, they got better. However, I was always told in the back of my head and back of my mind, I kind of knew, and from the doctors, that eventually it's probably going to happen. I'm going to end up needing a kidney sometime in my life. I've been very blessed to have my heart for 34 years. No complications. I am married to my high school sweetheart. I am a mom of an 18, almost 19-year-old now. I am a college graduate of early childhood education, and I work with children. However, transplantation is not a very uncommon thing in my household. My husband, in 2007, I believe. Actually, I'm sorry, in 2002, he was out with some friends, and they were out exploring, shooting, doing all sorts of stuff, gun range kind of thing, but it was outdoors. And unfortunately, one of his guns malfunctioned and it blew off his right hand. Well, my mom was the type of person where she figured if they can do heart transplants, they can do hand transplants. She was right. My husband was one of 4 transplanted patients at Louisville, Kentucky. And he received a hand transplant. That is the most remarkable thing I've ever seen in my life. At that time, they were doing this it was government issued, government funded. So it was for our war vets. And basically, they were just looking for people that were compatible to do this, kind of like a subject to try. And my husband was all for it. So he became a 4th hand transplant in the United States. He was phenomenal. It was a 15-hour procedure. And when he woke up, his hand was like this. And it was the donor hand. And it was all wrapped up in gauze and everything. And this point right here, I could see his fingers. And the first thing I said is, "Can you move your fingers?" And he went like this. And I thought, oh my gosh, how amazing is that? It just blows my mind. So being a transplant myself, I figure, this is awesome. We're going to be transplant, husband and wife. This is awesome. However, 8 months to it, doing great, he started losing a lot of, how would I say that? The arteries started closing up. And he started bruising in areas of his arm. And he was seeing a doctor out here in California. And unfortunately, they were not able to fix it or anything by the time we got out to Louisville. So therefore, he became a first unsuccessful hand transplant in the United States. This was not my husband's fault. Unfortunately, they were experimenting a bit on the type of medication, which, mind you, with the same transplant medications I was taking. So his was outer, mine was inner. Didn't quite understand why they wanted to experiment and kind of lower it too much, too fast, or what they were doing. But it became a big controversy thing. So unfortunately, my husband does not have his hand anymore. He would love to do it again, but I don't think it's going to be in the plan. I started doing very well after that. My life was still doing great. My kidneys were doing great. However, I've always been the type that never went to the bathroom like everybody else. You drink gallons of water and have to go to the bathroom. That was not me. But it was normal for me not to be that way. But I was still doing well. I received hepatitis C in 1987 because back then they did not look for all those kind of viruses during blood transfusions. So lucky me. I've had that for about 33 years now. And everything was going good. I was totally okay. No problems, no issues with my liver or anything with that. So the summer of 2018, we started noticing a decline in my kidneys. However, that same year, I was in the process of trying out a new treatment that had finally came out that was a lot more better in a sense as far as treating hepatitis C and not letting it come back. And so I was all for it. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. I want to get rid of it. I don't want to deal with this anymore. But when that happened, we started noticing that I was losing a lot of protein in my urine. And that was causing the decline in my kidneys, on top of the harsh medications that I've been taking for 33 years. So we couldn't give me a medication that would stop that because it interacts with our transplant medicines. So what's more important, transplant medicine or stopping the urine, protein in urine? So we decided, you know what? Let's try it for a transplant. I said, all right, we're going to have a kidney transplant. This all happened the same year that my father-in-law ended up with a double lung transplant. His was March 1st of 2018. So transplantation is no uncommon thing in our household at all. I truly believe that the Lord has brought me and my husband together for a very good reason. I've been there for him. I've been there for his father, and my family has helped them understand the whole thing about transplantation and the need of organ, eye, and tissue donors. So, lo and behold, I ended up testing in the summer of 2018 on my kidney. And my thoughts during all this was, my gosh, I got to start getting some people tested. I mean, I would love to get my kidney and not have dialysis. I remember having dialysis and I hated it. But then again, who likes dialysis? Out of everything I could remember, that was the one thing I did remember. So I did everything pretty fast. I decided to have my transplant at Cedars-Sinai. And the reason for that is all of my transplant doctors that I've had since I was a little girl are all over at Cedars-Sinai. So it was only made sense for me to go over there because if something had happened to my heart, then at least they would know what to do. I was finally put on the list on December, I think it was 2 weeks before Christmas. I was listed on a Monday. I was at work and got the call that I was listed on a Monday. And my mom's words to me were, you're going to get that kidney before the year is over. And I'm like, Mom, how's that possible? We don't even have anybody yet. And then we have 2 weeks before the year is over. How is this possible? There's no way. There's just no way. Luckily, there was a way. I was working on the 2018 Donate Life Float. And for the Rose Parade, I went home that Friday night and I got a call that I was to be ready, that they had a kidney for me. And I was like, this was on December 28th. Yes, I believe that was a Friday. It was December 28th. I received my call. And I was like, what? And they're like, yes, you're going to be on call over the weekend. And I said, all right. So Monday, I got my call early in the morning, and my husband went to work. He works in Newport Beach, and they gave me a call, and they said, we are ready for you. And I said, okay. I had my backpack. I said, well, my husband's on his way to work. Should I call him and have him come back? And at the time, they were like, yeah, sure. Within 5 minutes of that, I got another call, and it was a nurse asking me what room I was in. Well, I wasn't in a room. I was at home. So, mind you, I live in Rancho Cucamonga, so I'm an hour away from Cedars-Sinai. And yeah, so this was actually December 31st. And it was New Year's Eve. And the Lord was right. I got there, and it was fast. I got there, I had hardly any time to say goodbye to my family. And they rushed me inside. And at that time, Everything was going on in my mind. But I knew God was with me. And I literally, from the time they put the IV and prepped me, and the time I got into the OR was 30 minutes. And I laid on that table and tears rolled down my eyes. And this lady, I'll never forget her. She was a nurse and she was a cancer survivor. And she's like, "What's going on, honey?" And I said, "I'm scared." And she's like, "You're going to be okay." And I said, I know I am, because I know God's here with me right now. And I know everything's going to be okay. 3 hours later, I woke up and I had my new kidney, and I did have it on New Year's Eve. During the day, I stayed up all night to celebrate New Year's Eve with my new kidney, watched my parade that I worked so hard on that foot for. But I have to say that I've been truly blessed. My kidney function has been phenomenal. I know what it's like to be like a regular person now. My heart is doing great. I will be going on 35 years in March of next year. So I'm very excited for that. Like my donor was a woman also. She was 20 years old. And she was high risk. I asked for high risk. And so she had hepatitis C. With that being said, in 2019, that summer, I started my hepatitis C treatments. And I'm completely cured of hepatitis C after 34 years. I have to say that my life has been, I don't know even how to explain it anymore. I've met a lot of amazing people being an ambassador for One Legged Sea. I have met Philip just recently, but yet we were Facebook friends and didn't even realize that when I met him in person that it was him. That was like, wait a minute. It's being a transplant is a whole new different world. It's a whole different way of living, but yet we have such an amazing transplant family. And I look at that. This is my family. This is my other family. Like me too. We're here to uplift her. We're here to, rally each other, for those that are still in need of a transplant. We're here to be there for each other, not to put anybody down, not to judge. And I love that because this is a whole different community. And I love that I can tell my story and give hope and strength to those that need that. Despite all of the challenges that I have gone through, whether it be with me, with my husband, or my father-in-law, that I'm still here, I'm still thankful, and I'm still going. I'm going. And I just know that if it wasn't for those two donors, I wouldn't even be here. There's just no way possible. And that's why we need more people to sign up as organ, eye, and tissue donors. We really do. Kidneys, I know, are our biggest need right now. So if you're out there and you guys have never thought of being a donor, please do it. If it wasn't for hearing my story, that doesn't inspire you. Think about if it was a family member. What if it was your child? What if it was your mother, your father, your brother or sister that needed a kidney, a lung, a liver, or something? Just know that don't take your organs to heaven because God knows we need them here. We really do. And you can so make a difference and an impact in somebody else's life. My son, he was a match for me. But I couldn't do that for my son. And the reason I couldn't do that is because I was so young when this happened to me. And I knew how it changed me into a different person as far as I had to grow up fast. But I don't regret not having my son do it because he's all I got. He's my miracle baby. And unfortunately, somebody else, had to be my miracle. but I'm thankful to them. And there's not a day that goes by that I'm not thankful to them. There really isn't. And I would love to meet my donor families and let them see where I'm at in my life and what a difference they've made in my life, all because they said yes. So that's my story. And I thank you guys so much for having me tell it. And I hope it inspired some of you guys. And just know that if you're out there and you're waiting for a transplant, stay positive. Stay positive because you know what? It's going to happen because God's got you. Thank you.
That's a great story. I just want to. Wow, I'm like, you guys family are really in tune to the transplants for sure. You know, your husband got the rarest transplant around. You know, that's pretty rare and
Yeah.
everything. But I want to go back to, you know, what's amazing is, you know, as kids being in the sixth grade, you know, you said that, and you was like, "Hey, look, I just wanted to go do. I think you said you wanted to do the sixth grade dance, or what was it you wanted to do? That was
It was
your.
a what again?
You said you wanted to do your. You know, you said you were in the hospital in the sixth grade, but the biggest thing you wanted to do was a school event. That was your biggest concern.
Oh, I wanted to go to sixth grade camp.
Yeah, camp. That's what it was.
My
Yeah.
mom, it was so funny because my mom kept saying, I sold so many candy bars. That's what I remember to go to sixth grade camp. And my mom said that all I cared about, even after the transplant, I kept saying, can I go home? Am I going to sixth grade camp? And she's like, even the nurses and doctors are like, what is this sixth grade camp? Because my mom told me this. These are things I didn't remember. I was in and out so much being sick. And it was funny because my best friend, who's still my best friend to this day, she showed up at the hospital and she brought me a sixth grade camp shirt. And I was like, I didn't want that shirt. I'm just going to sixth grade camp. Okay.
Right. I want to be there. Okay. I don't want to be at no shirt. I want to be there. You know,
Right. That's all I cared about. Just
right,
care about no
right.
transplant. Okay. I got somebody else. I'm alive again. Can I go to camp now? You know,
Right.
but I couldn't even go back to school. I had to wait, you know, a whole year before that, you know, and that was hard. I mean, it was hard being 12 going on 13 and walking down a street with a mask on. And I was in Bellflower. So I was a Bellflower transplant girl for a very long time. And I always had people coming up to me saying, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? And of course, my mom wanted to tell everybody what was going on, right? Me, I was the sarcastic one. I said, I'm feeling with my hands. And my mom got so mad because she's like, can't say that. I said, I'm tired of them asking me how I feel. I just want to live my life, you know. And in a sense, you could at a young age, you can live your life, but my life changed. I mean, medicines, doctor appointments, biopsies. It was like, is this ever going to end, you know? And that's hard for someone who's younger than it is now. You know, you're more alert, you know more, you're growing more. But I don't remember my 13 to 16 years old. I don't remember much of that. And a lot of it has to do with the fact my whole life was about transplantation. It was all about, even though I was able to go to school, it was still doctor appointments, doctor appointments, doctor appointments. You know, that it finally got to that point was like, sweet, it's kind of mellowing out a little bit, you know, and I can enjoy life a little bit, be a teenager. So I tell people all the time, I really believe the reason why I'm around little kids is because I'm still a kid at heart. I really am.
Right.
I'll put it out there. I'm 47 years old. I don't even act like it.
What was amazing to me about that sixth grade part was I remember getting my first transplant, and the doctors are giving me all these recommendations like right before I leave, and they're like, okay, you already took the class for the medications, you know about this, you know about that. Do you have any questions? And the only question I had was, when can I lift weights? And they were like looking at me like, really?
My
And
husband was the same way. Yeah. And you're like, that's what you want to know. I don't care about that stuff. All right, whatever. I got to do it. I know. But can I go back to you know?
Right. That's where I was, and so that's where it reminded me. Like, oh, hold on, I want to go to sixth grade camp. Okay, this is my life. And so what I get from that is, and with myself was, we're thrown into this world of transplantation, but we're still thinking about our world. We're still thinking about what we want to do, what's important to us. Can we get back to the normalcy of what we want to do? And that's where I was going with that. So that just
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. This is done. Now what? Can I move on now? Like, and that, and I've always been like that. I'm like, okay, it's a transplant. My transplant never bothered me. My hearing loss bothered me. How crazy is that? My hearing loss would bother me because it took away. I was a singer. I was going to be an actress. I wanted to be the next Lucille Ball. Okay, she was my idol. I love Lucille Ball. I loved comedy, and I can be like that with my littles. I can be crazy, whatnot, and they don't care. So it took away things that I loved, and it kind of bummed me out. And I did. Don't get me wrong. I did go through a little bit of depression. I did because I was a kid. We didn't have support groups for kids. We didn't have any of that.
Right.
And I mean, we have support groups for adults, but in reality, we really don't even have it for teenagers now. And I have noticed that I tend to reach out to transplant teenagers more than I do the adults because I have a heart, and I've just realized this a couple of weeks ago. I want to do that. I want to go out now, and I want to maybe start a support group or at a hospital or something for those that are in the hospital waiting for a transplant. Or I didn't have that. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I mean, I had a tutor come to my hospital room to help me finish 6th grade, because just to keep going a little bit. And at that point I was like, I don't even care about this right now. I was tired of doctors being on top of me, waking me up in the middle of the night, doing a new catheter in your neck, or you're changing your dialysis stuff. It was just bad. It was just like, you don't want all that when you're a kid. So yeah, definitely. We have that transplant world, and we do have to still live by that to keep going.
Right.
So
one thing that's awesome is your mom must have a call line right to God, because her faith is tremendous. Okay, whatever she says, if she stands on it and it happens, she manifests it. So I just want to say that you already know this, but her faith and what she says, it happens just like she says it's going to happen. She stands on that, and that's a contest. That's pretty amazing, right there.
It is. For the longest time, I was calling myself the Queen of Hearts because my name means Queen, Regina. And so, I've had the heart for so long, and people love that. And then now that I got my kidney, I said, actually, one of my doctors changed it. They're like, no, you're the Queen of Hearts. And I was like, so I have stickers that say Queen of Parts, shirts that say that. I don't want any more parts. I'm good with organs. Right. I don't want more. Right. I'm done. Yeah. I am fascinated with all of it. I love watching the surgery of it. I think it's amazing. Some people are like, ew. I'm like, no, I want to know what's going on here. What are you doing over there?
Right.
But
so let me ask you this though. Let me ask you one more question. So the heart was going strong. Did you see any decline in your kidneys? Were they saying that you had to go get your kidneys tested, anything like that during that period?
My kidneys were always being watched from day one after I was taken off dialysis. So, and I have actually, my scarring is right here on my left arm. So they've always been watched. Due to insurance changes, obviously I had to change doctors and whatnot. I'm with Kaiser now, and I'm completely happy with it. It's fine. They just would have a urine test, blood work, and keep checking it. And I was doing okay for a very long time. I think it just started maybe, I wouldn't even say 2018. We started noticing more of a decline 5 years ago, before 2018. But it was very small. And we were trying to figure out what we could do. Like I said, it was losing the protein in the urine. And I was like, well, what does that mean? I didn't quite understand what that meant. And so we were just trying to figure out what can we do to stop that. But in the back of my mind, I already knew, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And so, I kind of just took it as it is. You know, if I got to do it, at least now I'm older. I didn't want to be too much older, you know, and maybe
Right.
the heart starts stop mine. I mean, when all of that, but I was more prepared, even though it went by so fast and everything. Mentally, I was prepared, and so doing the, like I said, they wanted to try some medications, but every medication I was allergic to, and that was a bad thing. Is that I'm allergic to a lot of stuff, and they found that out when I first had my transplant. Um, I There's so much that I can't even take. I take amoxicillin. I can't take um, a lot of stuff. There's like the stuff you need to use when you're sick. Yeah, forget that. I don't get that. I'm also the type where if it says, you know, side effects, I don't get those. I go way down to the bottom. It says severe side effects. I skip all that stuff. Okay. So my body's very sensitive to a lot of things. So we just got to that point. I was just like, you know what? We'll just keep watching it. I'll just keep drinking my water. I was never a coffee drinker, never a drinker. Tea, none of that. I always drink water. I mean, yeah, I have my Coke every so often. I love Coke. I love Mountain Dew. Then I stopped that after I found out what was in it.
Right.
You know, now my son's on it. I'm like, hey, you know what's on it. So I think by then it was just, what can we do? And so it actually just started declining more and more in 2018. Like it went within months. All of a sudden it just went like, I was at 50%, or no, it was like 40%. And then it was like, by the time summer was almost over, I was at 20%.
Wow.
And that was within like 3 months. So I was like, okay, it was time. I think is what it was. It was time. And like I said, we were about to start hepatitis C treatments and we couldn't because the doctor was like, why should we even try that when you're going to need a kidney? And if you ask for high risk, we could just do it all in one. And I was like, sure. And not put my body through all of that either when I needed to make sure that my body was healthy enough for the transplant. So, yeah, I mean, to the day of New Year's Eve, I'm like, wow, that's pushing it right there. So, Philip, you're going to get yours. I know you are.
Oh yeah, it's coming. You know, I have faith. So, you know, I just keep rolling with the punches and wait till it gets my turn. You know, I don't do too much complaining about that specific event in my life. You know, it's people like you and Safaro, Edward Drake, Jonathan Trailer that keep me going, you know, and fighting for that chance. So I appreciate, you know, the support from everybody that, you know, that they're giving me. So believe me, I'm definitely not giving up at all. So
You can't. And I can see that you are not one to give up. I know it's frustrating, and I don't get me wrong. I actually feel bad a lot of times when I tell my story, especially about my kidney, because I see so many people that are waiting as long as like you have, and being on dialysis and that, and I feel it's unfair sometimes, but I can't. I have to remember that there's a reason for everything, and God has a purpose for everything in our lives, and He puts us in these positions sometimes. I don't know if it's to make us stronger. It probably is to make us stronger. But it's not, I know it's not to torture us. And I know He's not torturing you or the people that are still waiting. And my heart does go out to everybody that is waiting because it's not fair, you know, and I feel sometimes it's not fair that I received mine in 2 weeks and some people are waiting years. Why it happened, I don't know. Maybe I'm here to tell my story for people like you guys and to just have that, keep giving that hope and that will to keep going and saying, yes, it's coming. It's coming. You just got to keep going. Even when you say you don't want to anymore, you're tired, you're done.
yeah, we are alike in a lot of ways. So far knows this, I was diagnosed at 4 years old. So got my transplant when I was 17 years old, went on dialysis at 16. I got my transplant 6 months after I went on dialysis. So, you know, I think in a way, the wait that I actually had between the age 4 and 17 got me ready for now. Because, you know, every month as a pediatric, I had to go see my doctor like I do now once a month. So it was like, all right, I'm gonna come get you at 12 o'clock to go to the appointment, you know. So I'm leaving school early. And I was looking forward to these days because I'm like, oh, I get to leave early and go get something to eat, and, you know, don't have to go back to school. And for me, it was like every appointment, I had to hear this from my pediatric nephrologist. You know, one day you're gonna need a transplant, right? And I guess he did that to have me ready. And I thank him for that because at one point I was like, if you tell me this one more time, we're gonna have to fight in this hospital room because it was, you know, as a kid, you understand and then you don't. You understand the fact that they're telling you, but then you don't understand why they're telling you, right? So much and so often. And it took me a minute to understand. It took me till me getting that transplant when I was like, okay, I see why he was doing that now. Because when I got to that point, I was just like, all right, IV, go in there, do the surgery so I can come back in here, lay back down and go to sleep. And I think had he not done that and had me ready, I would have probably taken that a different way. Because, you know, some people, they don't know how to take it after they get it. You know, it startles your mind a little bit when it happens and you're not technically mentally ready for it. And that is why some people deal with the compliance part to it, because they weren't mentally ready emotionally. And, you know, they were like, I'm tired of, you know, I'm done with dialysis and this and that. And they want, you know, but they weren't mentally ready for everything that came with that. So I definitely, you know, understand, you know, from every part you come. The only part I probably don't completely understand maybe the heart transplant side to it. But then I somewhat understand it as well. We both know Sarah Castro, who is also a kidney and a heart recipient as well, that lives out here. So, but yeah, I'm actually gonna go, you know, give us a little break. I'm gonna go to a commercial, well, two, but the first one is somebody that's family, is, you know, Mr. Cook's wife. She's you want to tell her what the body cream is about, Mr. Cook? Or
Her
you want to just
commercial will tell you about it. Yeah, just do the commercial.
yeah. All right.
Hi everyone, I'm Camille Cook, the family nurse practitioner, the creator, the developer, the chef, and the cook of crack. Well, creamy crack, the addictive, all-natural body cream. I have a background in dermatology and cosmetic surgery, and I created a 98% organic and a 2% all-natural body cream in 2011 for both my son and husband. My son, who suffered from the irritating symptoms of eczema, and my husband, who was a 2-time kidney transplant survivor and who was on kidney dialysis for over 10 years. They both suffered from the dry, itchy, scaly, and flaky skin. And as a mom and a wife, and with a background in dermatology as a nurse practitioner, I couldn't stand back and see them suffer any longer. So I got into the kitchen and started cooking crack. Well, creamy crack again, the all-natural body cream. It moisturizes, it replenishes, it restores, it heals and protects your largest organ. You got it, your skin. I have been able to make such a difference in the lives of those people who suffer from the irritating symptoms of being on kidney dialysis or who are awaiting a kidney transplant, and also for those who suffer from eczema. Those people or individuals have suffered way too long and tried too many things to help their skin come back to life. I am so honored and grateful for you to try this all-natural body cream. Again, that's going to help you look and feel better with your skin. Creamy crack can can be found on all social media platforms at Creamy Crack Body Cream, or can be purchased at creamycrackbodycream.com. I look forward to serving you, sharing with you, and making an impact in your life. I hope you'll go out and try Creamy Crack, the addictive, all-natural body cream. Thank you.
Welcome back to a second chance. I'm sorry, that is the best commercial I've ever seen in my life, because that is too funny. But it's the best name ever, honestly. I mean, that's, you bring people into your product by making them laugh, by making them connect to what you're trying to sell them, and she definitely does that 100%, man. I have mine. She sent me some, which I'm appreciative of. Actually, I got 3 of them. I got 2 right here that just fell in my cup out of nowhere, and but it's great. I use it every day, so
Yeah,
got
her
my
website. Yeah, her creamy crack is amazing, man. Especially for people that like us who've had transplants and been on dialysis. Our skin is a little different. So, and my wife is a nurse practitioner, and she owned her own med spa. So she knows. She's been in dermatology forever, man. So she knows all about skin. So when she did come up with that product, it's amazing. But her website will be live Thursday, and you can go purchase then. This is amazing. I tell you, I don't use anything else but it, man. I mean, and from being a decade on dialysis, over a decade, my skin with the phosphorus and everything took a pounding. So I had areas of my skin that were messed up, man, but it definitely really, really helped. I can honestly say it's good. But we're going back to Regina. Go ahead, Phil. I know you got some questions for Regina.
I do. I'm glad you mentioned something earlier about how there's no support groups or anything like that for pediatrics, and I've been saying that for years. So me and Mr. Cook have had this conversation before, and a number of others that I've talked to also. Because like I said, I lived my life as a pediatric dealing with my kidney, so. It is definitely needed, and what's crazy is how it took Mr. Drake to realize it, that there's nobody out there helping kids deal with these situations. And I don't know if people think the kids don't deal with it or what. And this is why I hate when people try to tell you the factors of certain diseases and things of that nature. They put an age range with it. A sickness does not care what your age is. If it's going to take you over, your body is going to take over it. It's not looking like, therefore, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next person and jump over here. Or they're 11. No, I'm going over here. No, they don't. If you're gonna get sick, you're gonna get sick, and pediatric patients need help too. And it's not just cancer patients. It's not just organ failure patients. It is all of them in general. And I want to ask you, because this is the part of the show where I'm kind of more connected to a little bit, but what do you think could have helped you outside of like the support, or with school? Like, what could have helped you in that time to get through what you were dealing with?
For me, it was just doing what I like to do. Yeah, I had a transplant. Yeah, I had to carry around medication with me at school, and back then it wasn't pills. I'm sure you knew that. We had the liquid form stuff, and that stuff was nasty. So when you said orange juice, I don't even touch that stuff because I had to mix mine with orange juice. So, yeah, I had that stuff with me on campus, at school, but my thing was just trying to be a teenager, trying to push that part of my life away so I could be me. I wasn't the transplant girl at that time. I was Regina,
Right.
That's all I wanted to be, just me. And when I get home, okay, then I got to be transplant girl or go at the doctor's, be transplant girl again. In high school, nobody knew I was a transplant. I didn't tell anybody I was a transplant. That's not their business. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, they would see my scar and they would ask, or they wouldn't. I was prednisone girl big time up until my junior year. So I had the big chubby cheeks and oh. So of course people thought I was just fat. So when I got off prednisone, started losing that weight, then people were like, "Oh, what'd you do?" Nothing. It was just a pill. That's when you're
Stop taking these
like,
pills.
"Hello, what did I do one summer? I came back, I was skinny." I was like, "Yeah, I went to fat camp." Not okay. I wish it was that easy, And of course, your moods. Oh my gosh, mood swings. But you just had to go and I had to go and be myself. And my mom tried to get me to do some support groups, but they weren't really support groups in a sense for kids, like you're saying. They were mostly like transplant adults. And they can't relate to me. They can't relate as to why I feel the way I do or how am I.
You couldn't relate to them. That's the biggest thing, not them. That's where
Right.
it's at right there. So I agree with you on that.
And so that's why, like, when I'm around any kind of event and I hear a parent say that that's their child who's a transplant, I go directly to the teenager and I don't even talk to the parent anymore. We recently just had here in Rancho, we just had a 15-year-old just had a heart transplant, and I've reached out to the family and I said he's going to go through a lot of emotional stuff. I would love to meet you guys for emotional support. He just got home 2 weeks ago, barely 2 weeks ago. So I totally get it right now. But the mom has been messaging me because she's like, you're an inspiration. You've been there and you've done it all, and you're still here. Despite the biopsies and the doctors and all days of that and blood work and everything. When you're done with that, you just want to be done. You just want to go back to your teenage life, hanging out with your friends, go to the pizza joint, go to whatever, the movies, and not think about being a transplant. And it's funny that you said that because I had someone ask me, how do you separate your transplant life from your normal life? And
I think it intertwines. I don't know if you can't
I had
separate.
to really think about that. I was like, you don't really. You don't. You just
every hour on the hour, we have to think about taking our medications. Even if we're at a party, we could be somewhere else. We could be doing some. Hey, prime example, I could be working on my car at this time. I got to take my medicine. Then I go back to doing that. So there is no separation, I feel. I think we just manage both of them synchronicity, where they just coexist with each other. That's how
exactly.
I think it gets to that point when you become an adult. Because even when I was a kid, I did like you. I didn't tell anybody I was an organ failure or anything like that. It was like, what do they need to know this for?
Well,
even when I got,
we want to be the same. We don't want to be different than anybody else.
Right. I wanted to live my normal life like a normal kid, regardless of, what my medical chart says, and so I kept that, to myself. It's people that I've just reconnected with recently from like elementary school. And they were like, you were going to school doing all that? I'm like, unfortunately, yes. I'm like, but I didn't want to tell them, because like I know now, and his reason is that they're, and you work with kids, so they're younger, but there are some kids that grow up around certain, I'm gonna say family. I'm not just gonna necessarily say parents, because now kids don't always get certain things just from their parents. But certain family, and they grow up being a butt, and they don't care about other people's problems and things of that nature. And I didn't want to fall into that situation, because at that time I had an anger issue, and I know this. And had I told somebody this and got something other than not even so much sympathy, but just either oh, okay, cool, and going about their business or asking concerning questions, we would have had a problem, because I know that about myself, and I say, you know what, nope, I'm gonna go ahead and just keep it to myself. I just want to be filled. I don't want them to know nothing else. The only people who knew and needed to know were administration, teachers, school aides, the people who needed to know.
Right.
And I was that way till I got to about 22, maybe. I told, outside of starting in really talking to people, I told my story one time, and that was actually with One Legacy, when I did their video, or Donate Life video that they show for the high schoolers and stuff, because and I actually have forgotten about it for a while till somebody messaged me, and I think it was Kim Hensley, and she was like, "Is this you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's
Yeah.
me." Yeah, because like I said, I actually forgot about it. And what's crazy is that interview was 11 years ago, and I still have not seen it. Have yet to this day seen that interview, and you would think that I would have, because we did so many takes of the questions that they asked me. They're like, do it from this angle, and then they move to this angle, and then they move behind me, and I'm like, why am I here for this right now? Like, this is too much. But it's something that, like you're saying, it intertwines with your life once you get to a certain age, because it is your life. It's all that you're at that point when you become an adult and fully understand it. It's all you're concerned about. I mean, you worry about, making sure you have a job and working and have income and things of that nature. Your insurance for sure is also at the top of that. But then that's all you start thinking about, is making sure your kidney is healthy, and make sure your heart is healthy, or your lungs, or whatever. And it's like, all right, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, all right, meds, 8 o'clock p.m. Okay, meds. You make sure you have your alarms on and things of that nature, and your pills in the car, and this car, and that car, and your cousin car, and in the office, and it's life for us at that point. And it's important for people to understand that. And it's not just, I'm not saying just non-transplant, I'm talking about transplant patients as well, is that you have to learn to bring it together to make it work. Because if you're focused on one, that means you're not focused on something else.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question though. Like, you said your son is 18 years old, correct?
He'll be 19 next month. Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. Let me ask you something, because I remember when my doctors told me, when I told them that my wife was pregnant, they were kind of shocked. Some of them were like, "Man, we didn't know, think you could, after sometimes people have challenges of getting pregnant or getting their wives and stuff pregnant because of the organ transplant." But did your doctors have any concerns with you getting pregnant, with the heart transplant or anything?
They were not very happy.
That's what yeah.
They looked right at my husband, and I said, "Whoa, I was the one who wanted
Right.
this."
Right.
My doctors knew that I wanted to get pregnant. They kept telling me no.
Right.
But I think because my doctors, I'm like their child. Okay, they've been with me since I was 12. The same doctors, even though I'm with Kaiser, they're still in my life.
Right.
And they were just like, "What are you thinking?" Now, mind you, I was in my 20s, like late 20s. So it wasn't like, I had my transplant 12. I think I've, done pretty well. It wasn't easy. It wasn't something I planned. Did I want more? Absolutely. I don't have any more. I feel that God blessed me with the one that I asked for. That's what I got. And
you had no complications, right?
I didn't have any complications having him. I did have him prematurely wise. I think my husband just wanted him out early because he told the doctors I was breathing funny at night. I was like, I felt like I was Superwoman. I was mowing the lawn. I was doing all sorts of stuff. Okay. Um, Medication wise, I was going to UCLA once a week to my gynecologist, a high risk doctor, just for blood work. I was like, dude, can't you just have me do blood work right here around Chickamauga? Like, really? You know, um, in fact, that's when I found out I had hepatitis C. Was during my pregnancy, and I went straight to my doctors, which were the same building, mind you, and I was like, hello, did you guys know this? They're like, yeah. I'm like, and nobody wanted to tell me this? But, but whatever. So he was premature, and he had RSV in his lungs, but because he was barely 33 weeks, he was December 4th, and he was due January 4th. And he just stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I brought him home like a week before Christmas. He is healthy as an ox. This kid has never been sick in his life. Okay, because for somebody who's premature, if you were to see my son, he's not premature. He looks like a football player. Okay, so yeah, I've been very blessed with that. My medications didn't change. I am on a I was just asked to register. There's a pregnancy transplant registry list or something. So I have found out that there are women that have like changed their medications or this and that, but I didn't do any of that. They just lowered it, or they just, messed around with it. But my body will not won't allow me to have a baby anymore. Would I love to have that? At the end of the day, absolutely, I want it too, but I only had one. So I don't think I had complications. I had them naturally. I wasn't supposed to. I did have them naturally. It was one of those things where it was like, hello, he's coming out, and am I doing the C-section or not? And they're like, no, you didn't do it naturally. I was like, oh my gosh. So he was born at UCLA. And yeah, I have to say that. I heard for the men transplants that there wasn't a problem for them.
Well, with
That's why I
all
was
the
like, not to hear
medications,
that.
yeah, with all the medications I
Wow.
was taking and everything, they thought that it would never happen. That's what they thought. When
Oh,
I
because
say
of the
that
medications, huh?
close
Gotcha.
to close to 12 years on dialysis and all these other complications, and
Yeah, that's true.
a boatload of plasmapheresis, all these other things.
Yeah.
So they just assumed that it would never happen. So when I did tell my doctors, they were like, really? They were
Hey,
quite, so
you know
I
what?
do know others who other guys that are, trying to conceive with their wives that could have a couple challenges also because they've been transplant recipients. And that's why I was bringing that question up to you, because what I was always told was, like you said, when you do, as a lady, you have any type of organ transplant, that they kind of don't want you having kids and stuff. That's why I was bringing that up.
Yeah,
So
because it wasn't very common back then either. I think I was like 1 out of 10 at UCLA who just
right,
women,
right,
But it's nice that us being able to tell the doctors, hey, yeah, we could do it, because
right,
then that gives them hope for other transplants. That, hey,
right,
yeah, you guys
exactly,
can do this,
exactly,
And I like that. I mean, we've done this, but now we're helping them. We're helping transplant doctors and the teams and all that. They may be doctors, they may have the education in it, but we're the ones that are actually still educating them.
right,
Every
right.
year we're educating them
Yeah,
by how
yeah, they're
harm
learning on the way, right? They're learning on the way we live. And
exactly.
you got a healthy son, all these things. I have a healthy daughter, so they're learning in those forms, and that's wonderful. But let me ask you, how's your father-in-law doing?
He's doing pretty good. He's had some complications. Lung-wise are fine, but he's doing good. He's just really tired and weak still at times. He was on oxygen for a good couple of years. And when he got his lungs, he got really young lungs. He's got 19-year-old lungs. So I tell him, I said, all right, let's go. Come on. You got 19-year-old lungs. You should be like way faster than me on a lot of things. Okay.
Right.
So it's funny because he'll call me on something, but he loves making sure that the doctors tell him what to do. And he's all about, and he got it at Cedars. And I told him, I said, Dad, as much as you will do everything the doctors tell you, you have to remember this is your body.
That's it.
You have to do what your body tells you to do. Doctors are not always right, because if I was to do that, I probably wouldn't be here, or I would have had a second transplant already.
Right.
But you know,
Right.
there's times where you got to step up and tell your doctors, you know what? I don't feel comfortable with that. That's not how my body feels with that. You know, and so we get a little bit of arguments with that. And my mother-in-law is like, just go at him. I'm like, I'm trying. You know, I love my father-in-law to death. But sometimes some of the things he says and does, I'm like, Dad, what are you thinking? Like, come on. You know? So
Right. But again, though, you have to be your best advocate, and I agree with that. You have to, live your life, because even though you got this organ and stuff, don't shy away from life. Life is here, and
no.
when you get these organs, or when you don't even have these organs, you still can live and do your thing. But I agree with you. Go ahead, Phil. I didn't want to take up all the questions. You're muted, I think.
Yeah, I just saw that. I'm sitting there listening. You know, I told you, when you talk, I just listen. You know, I'm not worried about what's about to come out your mouth. So, but I do want to ask this one question before I turn it back over to Mr. Cook. How has Transplant brought your family together?
Actually, it's brought us together, but at times it's been like I think not for me, my family is very supportive, my husband and my son. For my husband now, it was really hard. And I think like with him losing his transplanted hand, we're a very supportive family. My son and I are very supportive of my husband, and we try to be there for him at all times with everything. But losing his hand was a very big disappointment in his life. It was already a disappointment that he didn't cause the accident. An accident happened. Thankfully, nobody else was hurt. He's alive, but because of a malfunction, he's a right hand amputee. And with my husband being high school sweethearts, I saw such a change in my husband. When he received that hand transplant, he felt whole again, is how he explains it. And a lot of people think that that's not a right word to say. But for him, that was the only way of explaining how he felt. He had his missing piece. He had his hand. We're whole, we got our organs, and that makes us whole. Without that, we wouldn't be alive.
Right.
For my husband, he still had life. He just was missing a part of a body that wasn't functional anymore. And so that has taken a really big downfall in some of the things that I do as far as transplantation talks, doing my ambassador things and stuff. He supports it 100%. And it brings our family close. But he knows I think this way. How can I say it? I don't want to say that he's not jealous. I think he's just saddened that he feels that he was not able to keep his transplant, and I'm able to keep mine. So he supports me in everything I do, and that's why, like, when you asked me if my husband would be speaking on this, it's a hard subject for him. It's a very hard subject, and I think for a male perspective, I think it would be a hard thing. I don't think I've met any. I have met the other transplants, hand transplants before when he first had it. And I had met all of those other men, and some of them did lose their hand also. Recently, it's hard on a man, and I don't put that as a. I don't want to be like. Men are strong. I will say that 100%. You guys are strong in a lot of things, and for what you guys have gone through, that makes you stronger. That's all inner. For him, it's a cosmetic thing that's outer. And everybody sees that he no longer has that. Right. So for him, it's hard for him to talk about. But if he had a choice to have to talk about, he would. And he has an amazing story. He really does. In my eyes, he has an amazing story. For my son, he cracks me up. He's all about supporting cancer and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's great, honey. I said, but what about transplants and organ donation? He's like, Mom, that's been a part of my life since I was born. I was like, he's like, that's just a part of my life. I'm like, but it's a big part of your life. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't be here, you know?
Right.
It's like when I asked him, are you going to put that pink dot on your driver's license? We didn't even talk about it. I was like, you're putting that on your driver's license, right? He's like, I guess I am. I was like, as a mom, I would be like, let's talk about this. Do you want to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor? I'm like, oh no, you put that dot on there, okay? So, I mean, I don't want anything to happen to my son, but he was just like, okay, yeah, I guess I am. I'm like, what are you talking about, boy? Well, and then for him to see his papa, he calls him his papa, to have a double lung transplant, he's just like, dang, Mom, with all these transplantations in our household, I'm like, I know, but you know what? There's a reason for it, and God's brought us all together for a reason, and that's the best I can do. I can say, but I love my husband. We've had our ups and downs because of his loss, and it still takes a toll on him, and it's been 18 years, almost 19 years, and I get it. There's a lot of unkind people in this world, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't ever wear my hair up, and I tell my husband, you lost your hand. He wears a prosthetic, but only to the gym, because he lift weights, he bodybuilds now.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, he wears it to the gym. He's a phenomenal cook. He wants to be a chef. It does not stop him from cooking. He will take his right arm, hold that, sanitize it, hold that meat, cut that meat up. He's a right hand amputee, but he writes with his left. He always has. But your brain always does the right for everything. So I actually had to watch and learn my husband do things that we take for granted in life. Brushing your teeth with your left. Try that one night. You're like, that hurts.
Yeah. All over the place.
My husband's just like, shh, he's got it now. Can he tie his shoes? No. Okay. He could when he had the hand transplant. It was amazing. But nothing stops this man. He races with one hand. They call him the one-hand bandit.
That's nice.
First, it was one arm, Dave. And I said, first of all, guys, he has an arm, okay?
Right.
But people are cool. But I don't wear my hair up because of my cochlear implant. And my wire is actually here. Okay, it's all magnetic. If I was to wear my hair up, I would have people probably pull on it. What is that? And I'd be like, all embarrassed, I wear my hair up at home, but even around him, I'm unconscious. How crazy is that? Little things like that, just heart transplant, scars, whatever. Here it is, you got it. That's it, But transplant has brought our family together in different ways. But the love and the support is still there.
That's awesome.
I have one question. Ms. Koo, do you have any more questions? I know
I don't have any more questions. I'm just overblown. I'm blown away by the story. I just love it so much. Every aspect of it. I'm giving it the thumbs up.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting both of you guys. I didn't even know you were a transplant too. And Philip, I really didn't even know that you had one before. And so now how long did you have your first one?
3 years, 2007 to 2010.
Okay. So is that the first one you have right now?
So I've been on dialysis since 2010.
Okay.
They removed all my kidneys, the transplanted one and my native ones. So now I'm just dialysis kid at the house. So, but like I said before, do I hate getting on the machine? Yeah, because nobody wants to get on it, but I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Because it's what's here, right? Exactly. It's what's keeping me going and doing what I, like to do through life. So very grateful for it. Hate having to get on it in my circumstance, but very grateful for it. But yeah, I think in my situation, because me and Ms. Cook have had these conversations before, people who have been non-compliant, it was a learning experience and things of that nature. And I think about how I lost mine, and sometimes I just go, I would have rather it be a non-compliance issue or something, because it feels like that's what it is anyways, even though I know it wasn't my fault.
No, it's not.
And you always want to be in a position to where you could prevent something from happening. That wasn't the case for me. It was just once the acute rejection started, it just got, it was like, all right, they brought me in for IVIG and trying to save it. And it was like, okay, it's okay for now, it's stable. And then 3 weeks later, I'm back in there again. You're back in rejection. And it was just like consistent, for like 6 months. And they were like, all right, yeah, it's a wrap on this. So seeing how there was nothing that I can do to prevent it from happening. I'm like, half of me is saying, might as well just not been taking my meds. The other half was like, dude, that's stupid. You need to take your meds. And I'm like, either way it go, I'm still in the same situation if I wouldn't have taken it anyway. So, it's just, it's hard for me to think about sometimes because it's like I went from age 4 to 16 when I got on dialysis. I tried to do everything I could to keep my function at 30%. I went on 30% from 4 to 16. When I got to 16, it dropped rapidly. Yeah. And my doctor was like, hey, yes, it's about that time. And I'm like, all right, but it's like I said, 6 months later, I got a call, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm back, I'm back in the game. I'm good. I can go back, play sports and do my thing and do this and do that. And then, 3 years later, it was like, I was in out the hospital so much in that year, and I was, working to get a degree. At that time I was criminal justice and pre-law at the time. So once that happened and it put me in a position I was in of having to fight for my life for 5-6 years, that kind of went out the window for me. Everything that I had plans for put me, it was just kind of gone. So I had to come up with a new plan of what I wanted to do. Which was for me kind of hard because when you have your mindset on something like you were saying, sixth grade camp, Mr. Cook want to go back, get back in the gym. When you used to something of every day in your life and you get the hole put on it, all you're thinking about is, can I get back to who I am?
Absolutely.
And for me, the past 11 years is what I've been trying to do. And I think at this point, I've gotten to that point, with the help of the Why Not Foundation, Eddie Drake, Mr. Cook, Wills Porter, Team SoCal. I mean, Team SoCal has been in my corner since 2008 and has not stopped. They've been there every time if I need to talk to somebody. I remember the first day I met Johnny. I met Johnny at an ambassadors meeting. And from that point on, it was just, me and him, we're cool. We connected. Same thing with Albert Jones. I met Albert Jones at a Team SoCal meeting that January to go to the games in Salt Lake City. And from that, I've known Sarah literally since the transplant games. That was the first person that I saw when I got in the airport was her and Mona. And they were like, come on, we're going this way. I had never been on a plane in my life. I've never been in the airport outside of when I was a kid, and I used to bring my cousins to the airport to fly back to Japan. That was it. So I was like, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, man. I just got my bags out the car and was acting like I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, where am I going at this point? Do I go get my ticket now? Do I check what am I doing? And they were just like, come on, get in line. And, from that point on, that's been family and it's never stopped. So, like I said before, everybody who's been in my corner and the support, I appreciate you all a lot, because without without you guys being in my corner, there's no telling how, where my mind goes. Because sometimes when you're in this sort of, like you said, sometimes you fall into that depression mode. And, even now, I'm like, it's 11 years and I'm still like, I started thinking like, is it even going to happen? And it gets depressing at times. But again, with me having people like you, Mr. Cook, Edward Drake in my corner, it's always checking on me. You good? How you feeling? It gives me that power and that energy for me to move forward and take the next step to get to where I'm trying to go.
Absolutely.
So,
and I feel like God's using you right now by you doing these podcasts. You're going out there and you're telling your side of the story and everything too. So God's using you right now. He's using you up until that time is for you to get your kidney, and then he's going to even use you even more at that time. He's going to want you to be his power speaker. I never did any of this stuff up until about 3 years. It's going on 3 years now, being an ambassador. I love telling my story. If someone asks me, I could sit and talk their ear off. And so many people tell me to write a book, and I'm like, I don't know where to start. And they're like, just start the way you are now. And I'm like, okay. But I was never one to go out there and, have that, like you're saying, the support. And this is a transplant family. It's a big transplant family support group. It really is.
Definitely. Mr. Cook, anything pop in your head while I was talking?
No, I'm just, like I said, I love her story, listening to you. I'm done. It was great meeting you, Regina. Your story, like you said, is phenomenal. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad everybody in your circle is doing well, and keep on being that ambassador that you are, because people need to hear your story. I think, and again, like I always say, you can line up 20 organ transplant patients, and their stories are all different, whether it's the heart, lung, kidney, pancreas, whatever it may be. Those stories are all different, and how they got there. And that's what, everybody can relate to something, to what's going on, so I just think it's wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. It was an honor.
I have
Thank you.
one more question for you, Regina. And you might have touched on it earlier, but I still want you to, if you can, elaborate a little bit more. What is the one thing that you want the people that's watching this either now or in the future to take from your interview?
I would definitely want everybody to please sign up to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor. I really do. It's, like I said before, it's a very high need. In fact, we're becoming more and more bigger in the news, not in the news, but just in statistics. We're like a silent, deadly disease in a sense. That a lot of people just don't really realize it until it hits them.
Right.
Cancer and leukemia, we're so familiar with. We really are. But until you become somebody who catches a virus, just a virus, sometimes that's how it happens. A virus, like with me. For anybody else, it could just be your functions are just going down. It wasn't your fault. It's not something you did. It just happened, and these to me are silent killers, and we do need more people to be educated in this. We definitely need the word out more. And I really wish that we could have more TV network stuff on that. However, we have shows that kind of give false information on how transplants are. And it puts a scary situation in people's heads. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, not happening. Yeah, until TV's TV. Until you talk to somebody like us, don't believe everything you see on TV, okay? Right. But definitely think about being an organ, eye, and tissue donor. And it's very easy to do. You could go on to DMV and just click that box for a little, organ, eye, and tissue donor. You want to be it, please get your little pink dot, because you really don't need your organs here. You really don't. And
hey, really, I'm an organ donor for sure.
And I love that we can be that now. Way back in the day, you couldn't. And I was so thankful when I found out, as a transplant recipient, I can help somebody again. that the way they helped us, we get to give back now. And that is so awesome. I was so happy when I got that pink dot on my card. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I mean, no, they can't have my heart or my kidneys, but hey, I got everything else they can have, your skin, your eyes, there's so much. And, but yes, this is definitely what we need. We need people to be educated more, and we definitely need the word out more. Please just do it. Like I said, think of your family, think of your loved ones, because you never know. You'll never know until it happens. And for my family, we had no clue as to what to do. So yeah.
Wow. This has been a powerful and emotional show for sure. And again, Regina, we definitely thank you for, bringing that together to be able to tell us and be able to, because I know sometimes it gets hard to tell the story, when there's so many moving parts to it, and so us as a second chance individuals as transplant patients, again, we appreciate you coming on to be able to tell that story. So Thursday, Mr. Cook will be back here with Mr. Kidney. Sam Jennings here to tell his story as a veteran and how he battled kidney disease. He'll be on it for our Veterans Day show on the 11th. Next Sunday, we have Dr. Marini Smith and Tarek Smith to tell their son's story, who's dealing with epilepsy, 7 years old, and very, very deep story. I've known these people for a while. Her and her husband are both very vital parts of my life when I got back in school after dealing with everything, because they were there for me from the first day I stepped foot in her class on campus. And she's been there and she's pushed me and she's put me in positions that I never saw myself being in until she, helped me see those. So that'll be a great, great show. The 18th, we have Kelsey Reed, the nutritionist, to tell all kidney patients how to shop with CKD. It's something very important that we need to know, and how to pick certain foods and substitutes for certain foods and things of that nature. And then Thanksgiving week, we have a whole lot of shows I can get to later, but we have a lot coming up. The holiday season, I tried to get us to do a little bit more because it's that time of giving and thanking. And so, I felt that we, certain things need to be said at certain times. And definitely before those people are gone. So, I'm going to let Regina take us out. If you have anybody that you want to thank, while we're here, it's all yours. Mr. Cook, same for you.
I just want to say thank you to both of you guys. Like, I'm thankful we got to meet in person finally, Philip. And I definitely thank God. I mean, if it wasn't for him, none of this would be possible for me.
Right.
To share my story and to be able to be there, hopefully to inspire other people out there like me, or even those that are just waiting. Don't give up. Don't give up, But thank you. Mostly to you guys, thank you so much. It's definitely been a wonderful night. And hearing your guys' stories also has been inspiring and amazing also. And I actually want to try your wife's stuff.
creamycrack.com.
You guys did mention how dialysis messes up your skin.
Yes.
Our transplant meds for years mess up our skin badly. Like, I'm always dry, and I actually just after my kidney transplant, I developed psoriasis.
Yeah. So it will definitely help with that.
Dry, my head, I when she was talking about that, I was like, so with this, like, it doesn't matter what I use, nothing penetrates into my skin. Nothing.
I'll have Phil give you the information and everything so you can buy it from and everything.
Please.
But definitely, it's
That's
stuff is
amazing for her.
yeah. It's
She would not know
people.
what to do for us. Like, oh, like, yeah, we're always dry. It doesn't matter
Right,
what we do, we're
right. We
dry.
are. Yeah,
Our
yeah. She
medications are
takes.
harsh on us. They really
She
are.
t- right.
But you know
She
what?
takes.
Like I said, do every morning. Okay, I'm alive for another 24 hours.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Pop them, ready to go again.
Right, right, right.
But yes,
Regina, thank you so much for your story. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Phil.
All right. Well, like I said, we'll be back here Thursday. Regina, again, thank you. Mr. Cook, as always, thank you. I appreciate you being on again, like you are every week. And we'll see you guys here on Thursday. Have a great night.
Okay.
Thank you.